does this encourage people? How does this enable us? Because at the end, if you know that if I hurt an animal, this hurts them. So this helps us to reduce the what? Helps us to reduce cruelty for animals. So that's how I can define this. Thank you.
Thank you for the fine speech, Prime Minister. We now invite the Leader of Opposition to open up the opposition case. Here.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Honorable Iman Namuli, and I'm here to oppose the motion that states this House would encourage children to read books about fantasy and magic. Now, let us look at it at a more realistic and logical perspective. If you come here and you're telling me that a child is below the age of 18, correct? Why are you giving them fantasy books to read? Are they not supposed to be in school? Are they not supposed to learn their A, B, C, and D's? Instead, you're putting on the table a book of Harry Potter. Why are they learning about fantasies, things that are not real, instead of learning about realism, things that are actually there? For the points that are going to be given on the opposition side, we have lack of realism. It causes limited educational value, promotes violence among children, and has a negative impact on the mental health. For the first point, lack of realism. Fantasy books are not real. They are a fantasy. A fantasy means this is something that's imaginative. It is initially, does not exist, it is not there. Why feed these children something that is not real? Why tell them to sit down and read on something that does not exist, and when they go into the world, they do not know how to act? Because they are used to these fantasies, they're not used on the way they should act in the real world. It causes limited educational value. You're supposed to be teaching these kids, you're supposed to be encouraging them to read educational books. We need education to survive in our society. We need to know what to do in school. You're putting a book of Harry Potter on that table and telling them to read. Is Harry Potter important when you go in school? At a high school level, how is Harry Potter going to help me throughout my biology, my physics, my chemistry? Granted.
Do you believe that a child reading books improves their literacy?
Yes, but a fantasy book doesn't necessarily encourage that, because at the end of the day, doesn't educational book improve someone's literacy? It is still literacy. As I was saying, limited educational value. These kids have to go to school knowing what is going to happen. Instead of teaching your kid ABC, you're teaching them about Harry Potter.
1 minute.
1 minute. Can lead to addiction. Now, see, the funny thing about fantasy, it is very addictive. You're setting these fantasy books in front of your children. They're going to get addicted to them. They're going to wake up in the morning, and instead of reading their biology, chemistry, English, mathematics, they want to read fantasy books. They want to read Jane Eyre. They want to read Harry Potter. They want to read about, They want to read about things that do not exist. They want to read about dragons and fairies. And yet when they go in school, they fail. And you're the same parents that are going to come here asking for marks, yet you encourage them to read things that do not exist. Thank you.
Thank you for the fine speech, Leader of Opposition. Let's have the Deputy Prime Minister to extend the debate for government. Here.
This House would encourage children to read books and books about fantasy and magic. Chair, I and my team are here to tell you that a well-rounded and humane individual, a well-rounded and humane child beats a straight-A student any day. Team Opposition has come here and told us how someone reading fantasy books is going to discredit their academics, how parents want to come here and they want marks, and how it is addictive. The aim of encouraging children to read these books is not for educational purposes. It is to make them humane, to make them see to make them see the creatures within those books as living things, to make them see them as their own, to create that empathy, that connection within them. So that a child who reads this, for example, someone who reads Peter Rabbit, a child who reads Peter Rabbit is going to read that story and they're going to feel that connection with the main character of that book, not allowed. They're going to feel that connection with the main character of that book. And after feeling that connection, of course, now that child is going to have that mindset that animals are good. And why there's no reason. Yes, please.
Do you think that educational books do not make these children
This is where you get me wrong. We are not saying, Banange, let them only read the fantasy books. We are saying we should encourage them to read more of the fantasy books. We are not saying abandon academics and read only fantasy books. We are saying encourage them more to read these books because of the several benefits involved, not allowed. First of all, they help children see animals and friends as friends and creatures that deserve to be treated with kindness and compassion in the same way, and in the same way they would love to be treated. This hints on the point of animal cruelty, because now a child who sees an animal as a friend, as a living creature, would not want to do harm to it, which is what we are trying to prevent in the first place. It imprints the mindset of veganism from a young age, because, for example, if a child who reads Mary Poppins and has learned and seen how friendly the kind of animals depicted in these stories are, they would not want to eat them, they would not want to harm them. This pushes the mindset of veganism, which comes with its associated benefits. Okay. All we are saying is encourage this, not as one thing that they're going to read, like it is a monotonous thing, but today, tomorrow, the next day, you are going to read books about fantasy and magic. We are saying encourage more of this, because encouraging more of this has several benefits. We have shown you, I have told you, how children reading these books is going to create that mindset in them. It's going to make them humane people who understand that doing wrong to animals is bad, because we all know that it is bad. Doing wrong to animals is bad. So if you encourage this, children are going to grow up with that mindset. You know, they say if you want a tree to grow well, you have to straighten it when it is still a seedling. When these children grow up with that mindset that animal cruelty is bad, because they have read those books and they have familiarized themselves with the characters there, and they have learned to love them as, let's say, fellow humans, like they treat them the same way they would treat other humans. They grow up and they are humane people who would not want to harm animals, who would not want to kill animals, and that is what we are fighting for, basically. We are fighting for the promotion of human rights in that way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that fine speech, Deputy Prime Minister. Let's have the Deputy Leader of Opposition to extend the opposition case. Here.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. From the opposition side, we oppose the motion. This House would encourage children to read about fantasy and magic, to read books about fantasy and magic. Books of fantasy and magic promote violence among children, because there are many books that are there are many fantasy books that have dark and violent themes. Through these dark and violent themes, because these children are young, they are under the age of 18, their minds are easily influenced. If we encourage them to read more about these books with dark themes, with violent themes, they're going to learn from these books, they're going to learn the events that are happening in these books, and they're going to start applying these events in society today. That's going to leave us with a problem in the future, problems like serial killers, problems like people having the domestic violence in homes, because they were reading books about people beating, about people killing animals. You talk about these books, the proposition side tells us that these books teach people how to love animals, but these same books have events that affect animals. These same books have events when animals are being knocked down, animals are being used, animals are being mistreated, and this is impacting on the younger generation. These books have a negative impact on mental health. These books leave children with diseases like bipolar. You know, they say, you can survive the snake bite, but you cannot survive the scar. These books promote... Granted.
What proof do you have that shows children who read stories about fantasy and magic will actually become like?
So many children today who are reading these books, many children in our society, in our communities, when they read these books, they start fighting. Children today, after reading these books, they start practicing. When they watch these fictional and artificial things in these books that are fantastic, they start fighting in public, they start acting like superheroes, which has caused many children to lose their eyes, to lose their legs, to lose their hands in society today. Like the first speaker from the opposition side said, there's lack of realism. These children grow up in another world. They grow up in their own world. When they get to the real world, they don't know how to handle issues of the real world. They don't know how to handle failure, because these books have taught them that everything is possible. These books have taught them that you can fly, you can do this. So when they come to the real world, they try to fly. And when it doesn't work out, they get mental health issues like bipolar. I would like to thank the second proposer for agreeing with us. He said the aim of reading these books is not for educational purposes. Just like the first opposer said from our side, Honorable Iman said that these books are taking children away from education. So thank you for agreeing with us, because these books are distracting children. These books are removing children from the core cause of being in school. These books are driving children away from reality, but they're taking them in a fictional world, and this has to stop. These books can lead to addiction. Thank you.
Thank you for the fine speech, Deputy Leader of Opposition. We invite the government whip to weigh up the case for government bench. Hear, hear.
Thank you, Chair. To start with, you were telling us that Team Opposition told us that. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Team Opposition came and told us that if it doesn't, that kids read things that are not real, like flying. Now, let me tell you something. If a kid reads that someone could fly and it doesn't work out in real world, this kid will think deeply and very deeply to get any possible technology to learn how to fly. Those are the things that we see now, the technology of aeroplanes, of what that is because someone knows or has read that something can fly. So another thing, and you also, their first speaker also said that instead of people reading ABC, they are reading books. By the time someone starts to read this, it means they have learned their ABC. And another thing, yes, they are a fantasy, but the question is, what is the importance of this fantasy? Don't just think shallowly, think deeply. Like, what is the importance of this fantasy? Books like Mary Poppins, it creates friendship between animals and people, whereby these children's minds are still vulnerable, which means they will know that animals and people have a great connection. Therefore, we guess that this, we not allowed, since they don't need to first go to school and learn in biology that they also have neurosensors, they are also like people. They already know animals get hurt, just like the way people do, from these fantasy books that they read. So, as they are addictive. No. We don't support this because everything has a disadvantage and advantage. So it depends on how you have taught the child to read the book. Even alcohol, that's the same way. When you take, they give you advantages and disadvantages of alcohol. You can take it, but limitedly. That is why we say you should teach your children to read, but responsibly. You get, don't overdo it. And also, you said they have dark and violent books. Give me examples of allowed.
50% of the people who read anime books in the world are children and are addicted. Do you believe that these books can cause addiction?
This is because they are not taught how to responsibly read these books. And also, you told us about dark and violent books. Give us examples. Besides, guide a child when reading, like you would when you're guiding them to read educative books. You should tell a child when to read and what to read. So therefore, we as team proposition, we say that these stories and many others like them have a potential to inspire and motivate children to look at animals as their fellows. I mean creatures that deserve equal treatment. So we guess this is of great impact to build baby vegetarians who can eventually turn to adult vegans and help the country or the world itself to fight animal rights. Thank you.
Thank you for the fine speech, Government Whip. We invite the Opposition Whip to weigh up the case for opposition. Hear, hear.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to begin my speech in X, Y, and Z. Panel. On our side of the House, we believe that their aim of promoting veganism can be promoted in a way better way. How? Through educational books. There is a book by the vegan teacher, Kids for Vegans as Kids. That book educationally teaches children how to be vegans without them having to fantasize about these animals, without them having to be, oh my God, now this animal is my friend. No, this book is a prime example as to why fantasy books won't help us with anything. Our second speaker came and told you these books promote violence. How do they promote violence? I would like to believe all of you know about Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer who started by killing animals, and he was an avid reader of these fantasy books. This proves our point even harder that these books are very dangerous for our children, very dangerous for the future, and very dangerous from time to come. And there is also a lack of realism. I think all of you know about the Amazing Spider-Man book. That book is going to give children a fantasy that they can fly, they can go places. The third speaker came and told us, Mbo, if they try to fly and they don't fly, there will be thought. If that child dies, will there be any thought? No, thank you. There's not going to be any thought after a child flies off the second floor of this building and they are telling the Spider-Man, no, thank you. Now, our first speaker tells you people about limited education. These fantasy books teach us nothing. These fantasy books teach these children nothing. But if I come and hand this child a book, biological science, and they read it, obviously they are going to get something from it. And we have, according to that definition, a child is someone below the age of 18 years. So we're handing these books to, let's say, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. They will grasp knowledge from those books. They have had a negative impact on mental health. Disappointment causes mental health. You try to learn how to fly, you break your legs, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be sad. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be bipolar. You're going to be angry. Why? Because you failed to fly. So we believe that if these people have failed to offer us anything that would convince us that these fantasy books are good for us. In the info slide, they gave us a book, Harry Potter. That book is a violent book. It promotes violence against animals. Until the last season, one of the characters had to fight with their teacher, and that character was an animal, all because of beef. So we need to understand that if they're to provide any, our side provides you with a better alternative, which is educational books, which will teach these children how to handle animals better, teach them about animal rights without them having to fantasize about them, create unhealthy relationships with these animals. Thank you so much. I rest my case.
Thank you for the fine speech, Opposition Whip. Let's have the reply speech from Opposition first. Here.
If you think the way of shaping a child is through fantasy books, then you must be mistaken. We oppose the motion. This house would encourage children to read books about fantasy and magic. As we all know, the book Harry Potter, given to us in the info slide of this motion, is a violent book. It's a book that has taught children how to be violent. It's a book that has told and given examples to children that are wrong. It has shown children how to fight, how to attack, and it's lying to children around the whole world. These effects from Harry Potter are affecting children around the whole globe and affecting children and teaching children how to hurt animals. They're not teaching children how to advocate for animal rights, how to treat these animals, how to protect these animals, but they are teaching these children how to harm these animals. As the third speaker from the proposition side said, this is because they are not taught to read responsibly. When we asked her, do you believe these books cause addiction? She said, this is because these children are not taught how to read responsibly. And that's why we are here today. These children do not know how to read these books responsibly. Children learn from what they read and they learn from what they see. So when they read these books, they are going to put these things into practice and they are going to get addicted. They are going to get addicted to these books. As we all know, 50% of children who read anime books today in the world are addicted, according to Wikipedia 2025. What is the importance of these books? They create friendship, told to us by the third speaker from the proposition side. She said these books create friendship, but these same books cause wars and causing wars between children and fighting and promoting unfriendly behaviors in children. Thank you.
Thank you for the fine reply speech. Let's have the proposition reply speech to draw a close to this debate. Here.
Chair, Team Hope has been singing the same song since the debate started. Violence, violence, violence. What proof do you have of violence? I am very sure, almost everyone here knows what Harry Potter is. How many of us are actually violent?
We
we have shown you that reading these books, children reading these books, first of all, encourages creativity. Leaving aside the educational aspect, which, by the way, it helps in, it enables them to enhance their English and vocabulary. That further helps them to express themselves. You have failed to show us how they can become addictive, citing no statistics, no clear evidence. We are not saying that it is the only way to teach children, but we are saying we should encourage it because it is the best way. And even if there are challenges associated with that, I believe those challenges can be solved. We are not saying go and read every fantasy book out there because it is going to help you. Regulate what children read. You guys have sung Harry Potter this, Harry Potter that. Is Harry Potter the only fantasy book? There are others. Children can read books and gain that mindset of animals are our friends. And this promotes veganism. This makes people human. You guys talked about Jeffrey Dahmer, how he was a serial killer, how he started by killing animals. You guys did not do your research. Jeffrey Dahmer was, first of all, mentally disabled. Second, he was raised in a home with domestic violence and he had home issues. That shows just the kind of place he was coming from. All we are trying to say is humans and animals are the same, okay? And these books can help promote that mindset. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the very fine debate. I would like you guys to cross over, shake hands, and wait for oral adjudication.